It's a little after 3 in the morning, and somewhere a man has just hit the person sleeping beside him. He didn't mean to. He isn't even awake. In his dream, he's fighting off an attacker, and his arm has come down on the pillow, the headboard, her shoulder. His eyes are closed. He's running, swinging, maybe shouting, and his body is doing every bit of it. Last time we talked about sleep paralysis. When your body's nightly off switch stays on too long, and you wake up trapped in a body that won't move. Tonight is the mirror image. Tonight, the off switch never flips at all. Every night, for the hour or two you spend dreaming, your brain runs a safety protocol. The moment you enter REM sleep, a small circuit in your brainstem reaches down your spinal cord and switches your muscles off. You go limp on purpose. It's why you can dream of sprinting and never move a toe. For most of us, that switch is flawless, thousands of nights in a row. But in a small number of people, usually older adults, and confirmed only in a sleep lab, it fails. The dream gets out. And tonight I'm going to tell you why that happens, what these people are dreaming when they kick, and why doctors now believe it can be the body's earliest warning of something coming, quietly, years down the line. This has a name, REM sleep behavior disorder, and it was first pinned down in 1986 by Carlos Schenk and Mark Mahawald and their colleagues at the Minnesota Regional Sleep Disorder Center. They had 5 patients, 4 men in their late 60s and 70s, 1 woman of 60 who were physically acting out their dreams. So they wired them up overnight and watched. What the recordings showed was the off switch failing in real time. During REM, when the muscles should have gone silent, there was what they described as a loss of chin muscle tone and extraordinarily increased limb twitching. The body was getting the dream's instructions and carrying them out. Here's the strange part. 21 years earlier, scientists had made tiny lesions in the brainstem of cats, and the cats had started moving in their sleep, as if acting out dreams they couldn't wake from. Schenk's patients had walked into a sleep clinic and reproduced that experiment in humans by accident. A year later, in 1987, the same team gave it the name we use now, in the journal JAMA, and they reported something sobering. Of their first 10 patients, 9 had injured themselves or the person sleeping beside them, punching, kicking, leaping from the bed. 9 of the 10 were men, the average age around 62. These weren't violent people. By day, they were calm, ordinary, and then asleep, they became a danger to the person next to them and to themselves. So picture what's actually happening to you in that state. You're asleep. The dream feels completely real. And every command your dreaming brain sends, run, swing, duck, is reaching your arms and legs with nothing to stop it. Which raises a question researchers couldn't resist. If people are performing their dreams, we can finally watch what those dreams are. And in 2013, a team led by Isabelle Arnolf at the Pitié-Salpêtrière Hospital in Paris did exactly that. The dreams turned out to be overwhelmingly about threat. Around 60% of the dreams people recall during these episodes involve some kind of danger, being attacked by people, by animals. And here's the part that stays with you. When these sleepers were attacked in a dream, about 3 out of 4 fought back. They didn't run, they counterattacked. But, and this matters, when they were awake, these same people scored low on aggression, low on anxiety. The violence in the dream wasn't who they were. As one neurologist put it, it's textbook for people with this disorder to have dreams where they're on the defensive. And not all of it is fighting. Almost 1 in 5 of these episodes were gentle, flying, singing, dancing, laughing in their sleep, and doing it with their actual face. So where's this switch exactly? Because if it can break, it has to be somewhere. It sits low in your brainstem in a little cluster of cells called the subqueruleus. When you enter REM, those cells fire and trigger a second set of neurons that flood your spinal cord with 2 chemical breaks, GABA and glycine, and those breaks clamp your muscles shut. That mechanism was mapped out by Patricia Brooks and John Peever in 2012. You need both breaks on for the body to go fully quiet. And we know this region is the switch and not the dream itself because of a landmark study by Clifford Saper's group at Harvard, published in Nature in 2006. Damage this exact spot, and you lose the paralysis, but the REM sleep keeps going. The dream runs on, perfectly intact. Only the mute button is gone. That's why these people aren't twitching randomly. They're acting out a whole coherent dream. The movie's still playing. The body just isn't locked out of the theater anymore. Right now, as you drift off tonight, that little cluster of cells is doing its quiet job, firing on time, lowering the brakes, holding you still and safe in your own bed. You'll never feel it work. You'd only ever feel it fail. And for a long time, that was the whole story. A sleep problem, a safety problem. Get the furniture away from the bed, treat it, move on. Then the follow-up data started coming in, and it changed everything about how doctors see this. Because when you follow these patients, people with isolated REM sleep behavior disorder, the kind that shows up on its own, a pattern emerges that is hard to look at directly. In 2019, an international team led by Ronald Postuma pooled the largest group ever studied, 1,280 patients across 24 sleep centers around the world. They tracked them year after year, and these patients were developing Parkinson's disease or a related disorder, Lewy body dementia, multiple system atrophy, at a rate of about 6% every year. By 12 years, nearly 3/4 of them had converted. And when Schenk and Mahawald went back to their own original patients and followed them for 16 years, the number was 81%. 81 out of every 100 eventually developed a Parkinson's-type disease. But here's the fact that stops you cold. The dream acting didn't come after the disease. It came first. On average, the kicking and the shouting in the night arrived 14 years before the first tremor. In one man, 29 years before. The body was sounding an alarm 3 decades early. And there's a reason the two are linked. In one influential model of the disease, Parkinson's doesn't begin in the parts of the brain that control movement. The damage, a misfolded protein called alpha-synuclein, starts low at the bottom of the brainstem and climbs slowly upward over years. That was Heiko Brack's work back in 2003. And the off switch that broke into tonight's story, the subcaruleus, sits right there in that lower brainstem, in the path of the damage, years before it ever reaches the movement centers. As a 2025 review by the field's leading researchers put it, the pathology begins in the lower brainstem, where the rematonia circuits live, then spreads upward. So doctors no longer see this as a coincidence. In many cases, the broken dream switch may be one of the first places the disease becomes visible, years before it ever reaches the parts of the brain that move you. Before that settles on you too heavily, and at 3 in the morning it can, hold on to one thing. Everything I just described belongs to a specific, rare, lab-confirmed condition. I'll come back to exactly what that means, and to the real reason for hope in about a minute. So if these are the things that keep you up, subscribe, and stay with me. That's all this series is. The truth about what happens in the dark, told calmly, without the panic. Now breathe, because this part is important. Everything I just told you applies only to true, lab-confirmed REM sleep behavior disorder. And that is rare of about 1% of people, mostly older, mostly men. Moving in your sleep is not this. Talking in your sleep is not this. Kicking once during a bad dream is not this. The real disorder can only be confirmed in a sleep lab, overnight, by measuring muscle activity that should be silent during REM and isn't. A single restless night proves nothing, and nothing here is a diagnosis. If it ever truly worries you, an overnight sleep study with a doctor can settle it for certain. And when it is the real thing, it's manageable. The very first step is usually the simplest one: making the bedroom safe, patting the sharp corners, clearing the nightstand, sometimes just moving the mattress to the floor. Safety long before anything else, and there's the hope I promised. These patients are the clearest early warning window medicine has ever found, a group we can see years before the disease arrives, which is why the first trials aimed at stopping Parkinson's before it ever starts are being built around them right now. And that decade of warning could become a head start. There's one more thing. Everything tonight came out of REM, the dreaming stage late in the night, when the dream is vivid and remembered. But some people get out of bed, walk through the house, even hold a conversation hours earlier, in the deepest dreamless sleep of the night. eyes open, no dream, and no memory of it at all in the morning. That's not this. That's something else entirely. And next time, we'll find out why you walk in your sleep.